Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. My name is Brianna and this is 4 Paws and a Book. I make book and lifestyle related content, so if that's something that you're interested in, make sure that you hit that subscribe button down below. Today we're going to be talking about all the books that I have read so far in the month of November. Whether or not it is because of the boss battle that we are currently in the middle of, or NetGalley November, or just that I'm out of my reading slump, I think I'm actually getting back to, a steady reading pace. I've finished 6 books so far in the month of November, so we're going to talk about them. Now, when I do my end of month wrap up, I talk about my stats, I talk about, the different genres that I read. I also talk about them in, least favorite to favorite book. Mid-month wrap-up, I don't do that. I talk about them in chronological order, and I just talk about the individual books. I'll tell you what their star rating was, and then I'll go into a little bit more detail about why I didn't like it. That way, when I get to my end of month wrap-up, it's not a 3-hour long video, and I can get through it faster. Okay, I'm not going to have a lot of physical books for you to, see this month, because I'm doing NetGalley November, so a lot of things are ebooks. So the first book that I have finished is A Psalm for the Wild Built by Becky Chambers. This is a really cute novella between a tea monk and a robot. And just the friendship between the two of them and them having, there's not a lot of plot to it. There's not a lot of story, but the character arcs are just beautiful in a 110-page book. It's adorable. I gave it 4.5 stars. This is my first introduction into Becky Chambers, so we'll definitely read more. Definitely going to be picking up her more popular books, but this one very, very highly recommend. And it was nominated for one of the Goodreads Choice Awards, so that's exciting. The next book that I finished was Love in Lockdown by Chloe James, and this is a COVID-inspired romance. And when I tell you the nostalgia was real, I feel like I should have live tweeted this entire book because it hit all of the stereotypes of early March and April 2020. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I enjoyed it thoroughly. I had a lot of fun. They were patio gardening. They were trying to get their parents to figure out Zoom. Someone was going to start baking bread literally any minute. So essentially, this book is about a woman who, she's crying on her patio of her flat as the evening cheers for the NHS workers. This does take place in England. Were happening, which if you remember back in March and April, that was a big thing. You would go out at 7 p.m. and everyone would clap. So anyway, she starts crying just because of how overwhelmed she is about everything in life. And then her neighbor above her starts talking to her, starts having a conversation, and they actually develop a friendship, but they've never met. They've never seen each other. They'll start passing each other notes and treats and stuff through a pulley system. It's really adorable. But they never meet. It has a very flat share element to it. I think if you like the flat share, you'll really like this. Obviously be in a really good headspace because we are still in the middle of global panini. So if you're mentally well enough to handle a COVID book that's, really, really raw. It's lighthearted for sure. And it's kind of self-aware and makes some jokes, but it is still a pretty, it's still a raw experience for us. It just happened. We're still in the middle of it, really. So do be aware going into that. I thought this was really cute. I gave it 3.5 stars. The reason I didn't give it a higher rating was I feel like the stakes were really low for what they actually were. I didn't feel like I was invested in their relationship quite as much as I should have been, but overall it was still really good. Then I finished Skin of the Sea by Natasha Bowen. This is an absolutely stunning cover. just gorgeous. I had to pick up a hard copy for myself. It's the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition. It doesn't have anything on the inside. Sometimes they do. Like Cemetery Boys, when like the first person opened that cover. Woo-wee! Okay, anyways, rabbit trail. It's fine. I gave this book 4 stars. I really, really liked it. This book has god-tier prose. I'm talking Addie LaRue, Night Circus, Strange the Dreamer level prose. And I think that was part of its detriment. Because it was so flourishy and just like poetic that I could never get down to the level of the character and like the grittiness and rawness of the story, because I was like floating in the clouds because of this writing. So like 10 out of 10 writing, but because of it I couldn't really get into the character's head, even though it was first person. I still felt like detached from it, and I was, 75% of the way in before I really started caring about the characters. I was reading it and I was loving it, but it was more of like an absent kind of observational reading, if that makes sense, rather than like really understanding the character and like wanting the best for them, or like, so engrossed in what's happening that like I wasn't like that, and I wish it would have been, and like otherwise this would have been a like best book of the year. So that's a little upsetting, but I still really loved it. And like I said, if you are a sucker for prose and beautiful lyrical writing, definitely pick this one up. And the next book that I finished was Iron Widow. I gave this one 4.5 stars. I loved this book. This was so good. This like defied femininity and the stereotype of what it means to be a woman. It also has like so much relationship anarchy, and it's just, this is polyamorous, and you never see that in a YA book. So very happy for that representation. Absolutely adored that. I think that the magic system / like science was a little over my head in the fact that like it just wasn't explained as well as it could have been. I think the concept of it was amazing, but it was still stuck in the author's head, and so the author's like, yeah, this is obviously what it is, and I didn't get that, obviously. So that's the only reason it's a 4.5 instead of a 5. But as far as the character study goes, this might be one of my favorite character groups that I've read all year. So that's still a huge positive. Highly recommend that you read this. This also made the nomination for one of the Goodreads Choice Awards, and I'm really excited for it. And the only 5-star book that I have read this month so far is Firekeeper's Daughter by Angeline Bully. On her author, like on her Twitter page, she says it's Angeline that rhymes with wine and bully, like a bully. This is a beautiful representation of Indigenous culture. This is about a girl who lives on the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. I'm pretty sure that, okay, actually I'm more than pretty sure the author is either a Packers or a Lions fan. Not sure which. She has talked about the Lions on Twitter, the Detroit Lions, but it was in a negative way, like in a joking negative way, but Lions fans are that way, where like they're self-aware. But she also like named one of the characters after the head coach of the Green Bay Packers, so we don't know. But anyway, they do talk about football quite a bit in here, which I loved. This was just so smart. This book had a lot going on, but I never felt overwhelmed. I never felt lost. What I really liked about it is that I wasn't really supposed to know everything that was going on, especially in relations to like the powwows and the like religious aspect of it or the spiritual aspect of it, because it's not written for me, which I like. Books should not be written just for white people. I'm sorry, hot take there, no nuance November here. You could really see the respect and love that she has for her tribe in this book, and it was just a beautiful love letter to indigenous culture in her tribe specifically. If you don't know what this book is about, this is about a girl from I don't remember the exact tribe, nor can I pronounce it. She kind of doesn't really feel connected to her tribe, and then she gets caught up in a local meth investigation, takedown, I don't know. Whatever the word is called. But it was done just in such a beautiful and poetic way. And this is definitely going to be one of my favorite books that I've read this year. So, on the other hand, I finished a book today that might be my worst book that I've read all year. So that's fun. Love that for me. That is A Land of Never After by R.L. Davinor. Beautiful cover. Stunning cover. And this was posed as Peter Pan meets Pirates of the Caribbean. It's called a Peter Pan retelling, but really it's not. It's not a Peter Pan retelling. It's inspired by the characters of Peter Pan going off on their own adventure and doing their own things. This is targeted as an adult audience, but I never once saw an adult content. Nothing that, it screamed YA. It did. It was weird. It was very clunky. The writing was just, not great. There was some trans representation in it, which, in theory is great. I have seen some Peter Pan retellings where Peter is a trans boy, and I love that when it's done well. But this one was very much written by what appears to be a white cis woman. I can't tell for sure, but it just, her writing kind of screamed cis white. And there was one conversation, literally 3 lines of dialogue about it, and then we never spoke of it again. So it really felt like diversity for diversity's sake, which irks me to no end. Marginalized communities are not a box to be checked.
Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Okay, so that I hated. And beyond that, I think that the concept was great. I mean, it was a very dark retelling of Peter Pan, and I liked the theory of it. But what it felt like was on October 31st, this author had a great idea for a book. And it all the pieces fit together. And then on November 1st, she pantsed a NaNoWriMo novel. And then on November 30th, hit publish. That's what this book felt like. And so, it was not ready to go to print. At all. I'm sorry. So I'm ending this on, a very hot take. And so I apologize for that. I'm in the middle of a couple of books right now that I have very high hopes for. I am currently almost finished with A Psalm of Storms and Silence by Roseanne A. Brown. This is the second book in the Song of Wraiths and Ruin series, the second in the duology. I'm really liking it. I'm listening to it on audio. And it's quality-wise, I feel like it's about the same as the first one, but the world is expanding quite a bit more, so I'm really liking that. And then I am reading The Love Hypothesis by Alby Hazelwood, and this one just I'm on chapter 4, I think, of it. But this one has a lot of high praise here on BookTube, so have high hopes, have high expectations. We'll see if it pans out at the end of the month. That is all I have for you today. If you are new here and you have not yet subscribed, there's a little red button that you can do so down below the video, and all the other links to my social media, including a 10% off coupon to my Etsy store, will be in the description below if you'd like to be my friend on any other platform. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.